Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for the 2023 program series, Living Well Wednesday. My name is Monique Kerner. I'm the Family and Community Wellness Agent for the Cottonwood District, and I will be your host for today. Our Living Well Wednesday is a virtual learning series hosted by K-State Research and Extension, family and consumer science professionals from across the state of Kansas. Many of our topics will touch on a wide variety of essential skills that empower you and your family to live, work, and thrive. Before we get started, I just wanted to go over a few housekeeping rules. Be respectful and open of others throughout the presentation. Feel free to type your questions in the Q&A box and comments into the chat box. The Q&A box does have a feature where you can anonymously if you are more comfortable with that. Our monitor, Ashley, will make sure to go over the questions at the end of the presentation. Today's session will be recorded and posted to our Living Well Wednesday webpage along with additional resources. You will be able to find all future and past programs on our website as well. Lastly, a friendly reminder. Our Living Well Wednesday series discusses a new topic every second and fourth Wednesday in January, February, and March over the lunch hour. Be sure to check out our Living Well website for additional details on registration and topics, and to find recordings of previous webinars. Slide 2, please. We do want to acknowledge that K-State Research and Extension is an equal opportunity employer. Therefore, we do not discriminate against anyone. So if there is a special request or concern that you need to allow for you to attend our programs, please reach out to us. Next slide. We want to thank our presenters for joining us today. Rachel Clues is a family and consumer science specialist for the Southwest region, and Jennifer LaSalle is a family and community wellness agent for the West Plains district. And with that, I will turn it over to Jennifer and Rachel.
Thank you. We have a couple of poll questions for you today. So let me go ahead and launch this first poll. Well, of course, Murphy's Law would always come into effect. So let me do it this other way. All right. So take just a couple of minutes, or not minutes, but seconds, to just, if you've experienced any of these things, just click them. And I think you can click more than one at a time. We've got some good responses coming in. I'll give it just a few more seconds. So if you haven't picked some stuff, and then we will show the results. All right. There you go, Jennifer.
Hey. All right. I'm Jennifer LaSalle, the Family and Community Wellness Agent in the West Plains Extension District. And we are so excited today to be able to present this program over anxiety and overthinking. And I hope you guys discover some helpful information in dealing with anxiety and overthinking. And looking at the poll, it looks like that we all are about experiencing the same with sleeping, feeling nervous, feeling irritable, and difficulty concentrating. And behind that is increase in heart rate and feeling helpless. So as we present today, we are going to be covering some of these areas.
Okay. And now I have a second poll question for you. which of the following do you identify with? And again, I think you should be able to click on multiple ones and just take a few seconds to click if you've ever dwelt on the past, second guess some decisions, fixated on situations. We'll allow for a few more seconds for you to mark the ones that apply to you. All right. So here we have, it looks like most everyone has second guessed a decision. And then we have fixating on situations and imagining the worst case scenario and losing sleep because you can't turn your thoughts off. So these are some of the signs that you might have a problem with overthinking and that we will discuss. So it looks like everybody's in the right place today. This is a really large content, and we probably could spend a lot more time than just 45 minutes on it, but we're going to try to get through it. And hopefully by the end of it that you will be able to have some new tools and techniques that you can take with you to help tame that anxiety and your overthinking. All right, so let me get my screen on our presentation. Okay.
All right, so what is anxiety? Anxiety is an emotion we all experience sometime in our daily life. You may experience it when faced with stressors such as a change in a job or relationship, presenting in front of a crowd or doing a webinar, or an upcoming event. Most of us experience what is called occasional anxiety. Occasional anxiety is a strong feeling of fear, such as starting a new job, or a strong feeling of worry of an unexpected expense, or a strong feeling of stress of everyday situations, such as family or work. The word anxious means experiencing worry, unease, or nervousness, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. When you become anxious over too many things, when thoughts start taking over every waking moment, that's anxiety. Some people experience it more frequently.
Jennifer, where you're coming in and out,
Next slide.
can you maybe turn your video off because you're breaking up, at least on my end. I don't know if anyone else is experiencing it.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay. All right. Anxiety disorder is a condition in which the occasional feelings are frequent and excessive and gets worse over time. The anxiety is so bad that it interferes with daily activities to where no one is unable to function. Anxiety becomes difficult to control and will last over a long period of time. Anxiety is one of the most common mental health illnesses in the United States. In fact, more than 40 million adults experience anxiety disorder. In the last year, 18% struggled with anxiety. We are not medical professionals, so we cannot diagnose anxiety disorder. And our presentation today will focus on occasional anxiety.
And so what is overthinking? The American Psychological Association actually doesn't have a definition for overthinking. Professionals call it actually rumination. And I'm not talking about what cattle and sheep do, but the definition for it is obsessional thinking that's involving excessive repetitive thoughts or things that interfere with other forms of mental anxiety. I like to think of it, for those of you who are old school, a slinky, putting a slinky at the top of the stairs and letting it go down. It's just that spiral that it just keeps going, it keeps going, it keeps going. If you can get that slinky to go well. And that's kind of what overthinking is. You just keep, taking yourself down what I call like a mental rabbit hole where it's just on and on and on. So I know that I overthink a lot of things too. That poll question, I could probably check almost every one of those. Some people think, well, I'm not overthinking, I'm problem solving. Well, there is a difference between problem solving and overthinking. And if you like my beautiful artwork that I did here to try to help explain it, problem solving, as you can see, there is a starting point, and it's not necessarily going to be in a straight line, because whose life goes in a straight line? But you can see that there is a natural progression of how that line is going. There might be different points where you stop and redirect, but you start in A and you start in B. Now, a lot of times my mind is like this overthinking. A starts here and then it just goes every which way. And so with problem solving, you're thinking about stuff, but it actually ends in action. It ends in a decision. And overthinking, it doesn't. You just constantly, you have all these different scenarios. And so for this scenario, where am I going to go? For this one, where am I going to go? And so I like to use this as an example of the difference. Again, problem solving, you have a definite starting point and ending point. And that overthinking is just like a lot of spaghetti on a plate. So how are anxiety and overthinking related? Are they? Everyone, overthinks at times. But some people, they do it a lot more. And overthinking can be linked to anxiety or depression. And some people who overthink, they also have anxiety. But not everyone who overthinks has anxiety. So maybe you're here today and you struggle with just the overthinking. Maybe you're here today and you struggle with both of them. And so we're, again, we just want to help you be able to identify that you're doing it, and then have some tools and tips to help you tame that. So now we're going to discuss the signs and symptoms.
Okay, so let's take a look at some symptoms of anxiety. First one is lack of focus. And this is like your mind wanders, you may have brain fog, or you may feel just a little dizzy. Or feeling nervous, you're antsy or sweaty palms, or you feel very tense. Feeling irritable, you're easily irritated. Restless, you can't sit still. Increased heart rate, your heart seems like it's in overdrive or it's pounding really hard. Difficult concentrating, you concentrate on the wrong things. Your mind is preoccupied with worry that you can't concentrate on what the current task is. Or you're feeling helpless. These symptoms, or obsessively overthinking. When you're feeling helpless, you might feel like overwhelmed, or you've got this dark cloud carrying over you. Occasional anxiety, these are symptoms that go away after an event, or you learn to manage the anxiety better.
All right, and the signs of overthinking, and you might be able to see some crossover between the two, but with overthinking, you're dwelling on those past events and situations. You make a decision, but you constantly second guess it. Well, maybe I should have done this, I should have done that. You kind of replay those mistakes that you do. You rehash uncomfortable conversations with, family members, loved ones, your bosses, your coworkers, and think, okay, well, maybe it should have gone like this. Those should haves that really get us, fixating on things that you can't control or change or improve. imagining the worst case scenario, where you chase your worries from the present into a past that is you can't change, or the future that is unforeseeable. That inability to sleep because your brain just won't turn off at night. It just keeps going and going and going, either making those lists of things that you've got to do, or just the constant, all the things I mentioned previously. And also, like that one slide with the scramble of spaghetti lines, you're always questioning, but you never make a decision and actually put something into action. And so now we want to talk about those things that we think that will help you tame that anxiety and overthinking.
So one way to tame that anxiety and overthinking is maintain some physical health. And many of you noticed on the poll that you had trouble sleeping. So good sleep is a powerful stress reliever. It improves concentration, regulates mood, and sharpens judgment and decision making. Studies show that most adults need 7 or more hours of sleep a night. Now, if you are one that is having trouble sleeping, here's some tips to help you get some good sleep. Go to bed at the same time every night. Get up at the same time every day, even on the weekends, which I know that's hard to do. Avoid caffeine, including chocolate, for 4 hours before bedtime, and avoid alcohol near bedtime because this interferes with your quality of sleep. Another physical health is nutrition. And nutrition is the foundation of our wellness. A diet rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and fish play a role in reducing anxiety. Studies have shown the foods rich in magnesium, zinc, and B vitamins and omega-3 fatty acids help reduce anxiety. And caffeine, limit your caffeine and alcohol. Alcohol can worsen anxiety. Physical activity is another important to maintain physical health. This is a great coping strategy. Exercise improves mood and sleep and reduces the stress and anxiety. You release those feel-good endorphins. It takes your mind off your worries. Many times when my anxiety is high and I'm unable to think and I'm not for sure how I want to do this or that, I usually do some type of physical activity. And through that process, I can usually problem solve or figure out how I want to do something. And then my anxiety is lessened. And stress and cortisol levels. Cortisol is known as the stress hormone and is released in times of fear and stress. Cortisol increases your glucose, your sugar in your bloodstream. It can motivate us to act. However, when cortisol levels remain elevated, perhaps due to chronic stress, it can have detrimental impact on our health. Cortisol alters our immune system, suppresses digestive and reproductive systems, and suppresses growth process. Cortisol changes our mood, fears, and motivation. Health problems associated with high cortisol levels include heart disease, lowered immune system, digestive problems, sleep problems, issues with memory and concentration, weight gain, anxiety, depression, and lower life expectancy. Some stress is fine, moderate cortisol is good, but the long term becomes a problem. If you want to learn more about stress, go to our webpage and look at some of our webinars that we have done, and there is one on stress. Another way to manage your anxiety is a calming reset. And I want us to do this activity together. So first of all, sit comfortably and in your chair with your feet on the floor and relax your shoulders. Put one hand on your stomach and one on your chest. Breathe slowly and deeply through your nose. so that the hand on your stomach rises, not the one on your chest. Purse your lips gently as if you were going to whistle. Now breathe out slowly through your pursed lips, while at the same time gently contract your abdominal muscles. Let the flow out slowly. Do not force it out. It should take you twice as long to exhale as it does to inhale. If you feel lightheaded, you are breathing out too fast. Now, we do have a publication that will be in our resources with the recording of our webinar. And we've also put the link in our chat. And this is Everyday Mindfulness. So I encourage you to take some time to read this publication. Okay, so let's do another activity, and this is called Reflect in Silence. This is from the Mayo Clinic Health System. And in this one, I want you to sit calmly and comfortable in your chair. And with this one, you're going to kind of visualize some things. So it's called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise. So right now, I want you to think, what are 5 things you can see? Maybe it's your hands, maybe it's the sky, or a plant on your colleague's desk. Next, 4 things you can physically feel. Your feet on the ground, a ball in your hand, or your friend's hand. 3 things you can hear. The wind blowing, children's laughter, your breath. Now think of 2 things you can smell. The fresh cut grass, coffee, or some lotion. And 1 thing you can taste, a mint, gum, or the fresh air. This exercise helps you shift your focus to your surroundings in the present moment and away from what is causing you to feel anxious. Now, both of these exercises take some practice. And you have to remember, and you want to try to do these exercises before your anxiety gets too far out of hand. Other tools to tame your anxiety is write down your thoughts and feelings. Writing in a journal is very helpful. My sister was experiencing some anxiety, and I told her, why don't you write down your thoughts or feelings, or keep a gratitude journal? And once she started doing this, she started to feel a whole lot better. And if you would like to know more about gratitude, you can watch our previous webinar titled Cultivate an Attitude of Gratitude. Another one is forgive someone. Forgiveness is releasing regret, resentment, and the desire for revenge. In order to forgive, we must face it, feel it, and forgive it. And one way to do this is to write a forgiveness letter. And I found this activity in a program called 8 to Grade. And how this works is, first, take a few moments to think about the things you haven't yet forgiven. When you're ready, begin your forgiveness or release letter. It can say things like, I don't know why you did it, or may never know, but I don't care. I'm releasing the past and moving on. When you're finished, sign it, fold it, put it in an envelope, and seal it. Write a big F on the front of the sealed envelope, which stands for I faced it, I felt it, I forgave it, and it's going into the fire, and now I am free. Burn it and feel the release as you do. And the last one here is listen to calming music. Wasn't the music at the beginning very calming and very well fitted for our topic today? But what is your favorite music? What really soothes you? Create a playlist with all your favorite songs. I know Rachel has a playlist that she listens to when she's experiencing some anxiety, and I'll let Rachel tell you what she has named it. But if you have symptoms of depression, music therapy can be a safe and effective way to help you manage some of these anxiety symptoms. And music can energize your body, relax your mind, and help you with even pain management, and even can boost your mental performance and slow cognitive decline. So these are some great tools to help you tame your anxiety.
And Jennifer, I'll just add on to about the forgiving someone. Sometimes the most important thing you need to do is forgive yourself. And so writing that letter, like Jennifer was talking about, but addressing it to yourself. I think that's what a lot of us, we ruminate or overthink on things. And it's just, we feel so guilty about things, or we blame ourselves for stuff. So forgiving yourself, I think, is important. And I know everyone's curious now what my playlist is titled, but I'm a sarcastic person a lot of times. And so, Jennifer has actually seen this in real life, but I have a playlist on my music deal that's called Don't Slit Your Wrist playlist. And so it has those songs where I'm feeling stressed and overwhelmed that help calm me. It's really, for me, it's not anything upbeat rock, but it's songs. I'm a very spiritual person, so it might have some hymns on there, artists that are contemporary Christian music, so things that help make me have more of a perspective. So that's my playlist, and so I'll find new songs and they might get added to my Don't Slit Your Wrist playlist. So all right. So for overthinking, before you can actually put some tools into practice, you've got to realize that you're overthinking. And this is hard because when we overthink, it's become a habit. It's like mental muscle memory where we do it and we don't even know that we are. And so again, this is going to take practice, but work to pay attention to your thoughts, and it will take time, but eventually you're like, okay, I am spiraling out of control right now with my thoughts. I'm overthinking. So when we're aware that we're overthinking, then we can put some of these tools into practice. So when you're overthinking, you call it this support system checkup. But think of people that you trust, your spouse, your sister, a good friend, and be able to go to those people and say, okay, my mind is spiraling right now. And I know Jennifer, she and I have had those conversations where we've had a meeting and something happened. She got off and called me right back. So someone you can trust that you can share those thoughts with, and they can kind of talk you back from the ledge, so to speak, from just spiraling down that hole. Places that you feel safe. I mean, it's, I like my backyard, sitting and watching the birds and the rabbits, and just places that make you feel kind of free, where you don't have so much stress and worry, but you can just relax. So think about those. And then maybe it's a coffee shop, if you like watching people and that helps, get your mind off of stuff, just what's your place. And I don't think it needs to be something like, Cancun, because that's not where you're going to be able to go often. You want to have this place where it is accessible to you. Okay. Things that you find comfort in. Think of, I think about Linus on Charlie Brown and the blanket he carries around. That's that thing he finds comfort in. Maybe for you, it's a book. Maybe it's, a special necklace that you wear. My sisters and I have matching sisters rings. And so that is a reminder to me, I've got support always, because, I wear my sisters with me pretty much. Your beliefs. When we can remember what gives us meaning and what grounds us, sometimes that can again bring us back from just that spiraling. And then activities like Jennifer mentioned in the anxiety that can calm and re-energize you. Maybe it's a hobby, reading or crocheting, going on a walk, playing board games with the family, those kinds of things that, it kind of helps you shift focus, and you can just re-energize and stop dwelling on what you're dwelling on. All right, so questioning your thoughts. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of ants. but it stands for automatic negative thoughts. And those are those things that kind of knee-jerk reaction to where when we feel an emotion, we automatically have these thoughts, and they're usually negative. Okay. And so those are those first strong feelings that we have and reactions to something. And again, they're like a reflex rather than just free thinking. Okay. And again, these are learned, and it can have a theme behind it, like, maybe fear or danger. And it's common in anxiety as well. So what you want to do when you're thinking about these is, and I put some over on the side graphic, I'm going to mess this up. I am so dumb. Those are just a few that, so you want to question those negative thoughts. Okay. Take a minute to find the answer to the question, what proof do you have that this thought is actually true? Okay. So, okay, maybe that proof is I've made mistakes before. I don't have strong skills in this area. I've never done anything this big before. So that's that proof that, okay, maybe that negative thought is true. But now you want to, what proof do you have that that thought isn't true? Well, I've done this before and I was successful. Someone actually, gave me a compliment and said they understood what I was doing. So think about those two things, because then we want to rewrite the script. Okay. And my picture here, I always think of Stuart Smalley when I think about this, is, the Saturday Night Live for many years ago. I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. Well, a few years when we were at home for COVID, my cat had one of those moments that I was actually able to capture on the picture. So that's my little Clementine there. And she's having one of those, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me moments in the mirror. But, I tell people sometimes, if I treated myself the way that, if I treated my friends the way I would treat myself and the things I say to myself, I wouldn't have very many friends. Okay. So to help us rewrite the script, think about how you would respond to a friend who would say one of those things, that I'm going to mess this up. Don't think about how you respond to yourself, because that's where you got to this point before and it hasn't served you well. So think about it as a friend telling you. Consider that proof we talked about, and then you want to remember those successes that you've had, and then move to a more balanced thought. Okay. So that original thought, I'm going to mess it up. Now, to say, oh, it's going to be perfect, that's not true. So we want to be, true with ourselves. But an improved thought would be, I've done this before and it's worked out. Okay. Again, with a lot of things that we talk about here, it's going to take practice. You've got that mental muscle memory that's been negative, and so it's been a habit. And now you've got to move to practicing it to change that muscle memory. And maybe write down, have a list of positive affirmations that if you can't think of it immediately because you're in that overthinking spiral, you can go to that notebook where you've put down some things, I am successful, and, believing those things, like Stuart Smalley would say, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough. And so practice it, be prepared. You might not believe it first off, but when you continually tell yourself something, then that's when you're going to believe it. You've been telling yourself the negative for so long and you believe that. So now start telling yourself the positive. All right. I think all feelings that we have are valid. We have to feel them because that's where we're at. But the problem comes, especially with overthinking, is when we ruminate on those. We just continue in that. And so I do this a lot of times when I'm feeling down, I'm overthinking, where, okay, I'm going to allow myself this much time to just feel as sorry for myself as I want to. And then when that is over, I'm stopping, because I'm not going to just live in that constant, thought pattern. And so that's a good thing to also practice with overthinking. Take an overthinking break. Okay. Make it a specific time, maybe once a day, maybe once a week, and put it on your calendar. And, you know, when you put your other appointments or your meetings, put your overthinking break on there as well. You know, limit it to like 15, 20 minutes. I wouldn't do any more than 30, and set a timer. And during that time, I want you to think, overthink, and whatever you want to. Just, you know, the sky's the limit. But when that time is up, I want you to stop the overthinking, and we want to interrupt that overthinking by refocusing ourselves. And so some of those things that we talked about before, you know, taking a walk, listening to music, doing an activity, something that's going to stop us from here and move us over here. And so one of those things, what would it work for you? What's something that would help you interrupt your overthinking patterns? Okay. And next, we want to talk about that professional help. Again, like Jennifer mentioned at the beginning, we are not medical professionals. What's the saying? We understand stuff because we've lived it, you know? And so anxiety and overthinking, I think that it's not that Jennifer and I are experts in it, is we experience this ourselves, but we've kind of learned some tips and tricks to help ourselves. But when should you seek more professional help? And like Jennifer had mentioned, in that anxiety disorder, when your symptoms are chronic, where they are lasting a long time, they're interfering with your daily activities, you know, your relationships are suffering, you've got, you know, sleep issues, maybe you're sleeping too little, or maybe it's too much, and you stop doing those things you enjoy or being around the people you enjoy. You have those feelings of self-loathing and worthlessness, isolating yourself from others, that decline in your physical health, like Jennifer was mentioning, and then even suicidal thoughts. I'll share, I'm an open book. One thing that you can, some resources that we want you to know available, check with your employer. Most places of work have an employee assistance program. And I realized last year, we had a whole bunch of family issues with my parents, my husband's parents, my mom with cancer. We lost my father-in-law, and I realized I was going through some stuff. So I reached out to our state of Kansas employee assistance program and started some counseling sessions because I knew I needed that help. I also ended up in the emergency room, and luckily my doctor realized, okay, you're going through anxiety. Maybe we need to look at maybe putting you on some medication for a while because you're going through a lot, and it can help you. It doesn't have to be forever, but we can come back and look at this again. And so, you know, reach out to your employer, see what they have that you can utilize. Also, the Kansas Community Health Centers, I've got the map up here, but they're going to put in the chat box the link to this where it actually has the telephone numbers and addresses. So reach out to those places if you need some more help. You know, your primary care physician is a good place to start if you don't want to go directly to counseling, but they can get you started and talk with you about some things as well. We never want to do a program where we talk about mental health that we don't realize that maybe someone that was listening to us is currently experiencing something even tougher. And maybe they have suicidal thoughts and feelings. And so here's the number 988 if you want to call and talk to someone. That's the new, it started in July. You don't have to remember a long 10-digit number, just the 988, kind of like 911. But this one is for, you know, those suicide, National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Maybe if you don't want to talk to someone, a lot of people don't know about the crisis text line. It's confidential, it's free, 24/7, and you can text START to the 741-741. So just remember those, maybe for yourself or a loved one. I know we've packed a lot into this short amount of time, but there's a lot to say. If you have any questions, you want to reach out to us, here's our contact information. And we're going to, that's the end of the presentation. Again, we ran through it kind of quickly, but we want to leave some time for a few minutes of questions or comments.
Fantastic, you two. We have a question about the breathing. So is 4 in, 6 out still recommended?
I think you're thinking of the 3, 4, 3. What is it? On my brain, 3, 4, 7. Where you breathe in for, Jennifer, do you remember that one?
Well, I think what she's talking about is when you breathe in, maybe breathe in up to 4, and then when you exhale, you 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I believe is what is recommended there.
And there's actually quite a few different, breathing techniques. We gave one option today. I think in some of our other programs, we've done others. And one thing to know about these tools, which the ones that are going to work are the ones you're going to use. So if there is a breathing exercise that you already have and it's working for you, but some people don't realize there's those different techniques.
Very good. Thank you. And we had a comment. It is so hard when someone says, don't worry about it, but I'm a fixer and I want to fix it.
Yes.
Yes,
Jennifer,
I think, as women, we are naturally the ones who nurture. And I know in the field that we're all in as family and community wellness agents, I was a former family and consumer science teacher, and we just have that nurturing ability about us. And I think that's why we want to fix everything, is because of that nurturing innate ability that we have. But lots of times people don't want you to fix it. They just want you to listen to them. So that's what I would encourage you to do, is not try to fix it, but just listen. I lost my mother 2 years ago. And one of the things I missed many things about her, but one of the things is she was that support person that I went to, but she would never try to fix anything. She just would sit there and listen. And, tomorrow's going to be a better day. And that was all that I really needed. So just keep that in mind.
And also about focus on those things that you can change, because I know a lot of times when we want to fix stuff, there's parts of that we can't. And so, what can I change about this situation?
It's all a question here about any new tips and trips about getting to sleep. And I had mentioned earlier in the presentation some tips to help you go to sleep. And that was to go to bed at the same time every night, get up at the same time every day, even on the weekend. And I know that's hard to do. Avoid caffeine, or if that includes chocolate, at least 4 hours before bedtime, and avoid alcohol near bedtime. And that interferes with your quality of sleep. Some other places will say avoid any devices before you go to bed, because that really stimulates the brain and it's hard for you to fall asleep. So maybe some of those types of tips will help you in getting good quality sleep.
And I did look it up. It is the 4-7-8 technique for breathing. That helps me. It's like breathing in for 4 seconds, holding it for 7, and then exhaling for 8. And that helps get the oxygen to us, and it relaxes. I was a librarian in another world before I moved to Kansas, and it really works with kids too, because you have them come in the library for a program and they're crazy, and doing that breathing for a couple of times would just calm them and relax them. And that's what I use to try to help shut off my brain when I'm sleeping.
Very good. So Jennifer, you had mentioned some vitamins and minerals that are recommended to lower anxiety. Could you repeat those?
Yeah, some of those were foods that were rich in magnesium, zinc, B vitamins, and omega-3 fatty acids.
Very good. And I see that Sherilyn posted where all of the resources and recordings for our Living Well Wednesday webinars on, if you guys want to click on that link there. If there's any other questions, type them in for us.
And we encourage you to go back and look at some of the past webinars, because there is a good one on stress. And and as we mentioned earlier, there's one on gratitude, which can help with anxiety and overthinking.
And this one will be posted. We'll have the video recording on there as well. And we will also include like a copy of our PowerPoint. So maybe you didn't get that picture quick enough to get Jennifer's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise. So you can go to that link and pull that up. So we recommend that you bookmark it so you'll always have access to it.
All right, we want to thank Rachel and Jennifer for taking time to do this presentation. I'm sure we all learned something new to take home and practice. We encourage you all to complete our survey by using the QR code on the screen. This will also be sent to you right after and will be available on the Living Well website. Feel free to provide comments and suggestions. We do hope that you will continue joining us every second and fourth Wednesday. Stretching your food budget will be our topic on Wednesday, March 8th. And lastly, if you would like more information or additional resources, please reach out to your local extension agent. If you are not sure where your local office is, you can find it by going to ksre.kstate.edu. Select statewide locations, then hover over your county and find the location of your local office. Again, thank you and have a good rest of your afternoon.